Because I'm gonna let you know, if you're in the water, you're gonna die. Illuminati dies here today, Mom.
It's a shark in the zoo. They say in Babylon, put the mark on them too. His whole body light so we can maul other guys. If my all-seeing eye going dark on me too. And them coffers for you. I'm ready so the devil who I call out first. I heard God call, he said behind the great wall. He I made a sword off to kick them all off earth. So my click don't play. Heaven gotta choose the wolf or the lamb. Get shot down by a pig in the street. Why do niggas gotta beef when it's a whole lot of hell? Alright, it's a hole in the dam. They can't flood Merc, so they shoot down gangs. Merc fly high, baby, Merc won't die. I don't see nobody here that can shoot down planes. It's like I shoot down veins. You're turning everybody in the hood to an addict. You look 6th grade to a bully with a habit. Cause I'm a switchblade or a fully automatic. Let's go. It's only 2 ways out. Don't ever try to sit or think of running cause you can't. It's only screaming die while you running out of tank. It's screaming try bitch while you running out the bank. Cause my click don't pay. I'm probably in your range getting brain with the semi. My hoe act right like she came with an Emmy. She want black pipe cause she came with the Remy. Ain't no pain even in me. You probably wouldn't know where I blow back kush. It's 5 knockouts when it's 5 cops out. Or it's 5 shots out from the big bad wolf. Better bitch gon' say that my click don't play. I threw a clip in the cave and I'm probably in your range getting brain with the semi. Better bitch gon' say that my click don't play. I threw a clip in the cave and I'm probably in your range getting brain with the semi. Better bitch gon' say this is the only way I know to handle this. A whole lot of guns and a whole lot of cannons.
Shots fired at Screw 2, but shots out to you carbon babies. This is your melanated warrior, Hebrew Heinous, and this is another installment of Facts Over Feelings. Leave your feelings at the door so we can get to the facts, because the facts are the only things that matter in a race where the first one to the mind is the winner. So that's what's up. Just want to say what's up to the Crystallologians before we get started. Everybody know we got to check these levels. Make sure this mic is all right. So I'm gonna look at the chat a little bit. One's in the chat if you guys can hear me all right, so we can get started. Hold on 1 second. So yeah, let me see. Can you guys hear me? Want to make sure you can hear me. All right, so we got ones. Yeah, let's get started because we got a lot of information to cover. It's finna be, hey, trust me, as always, we about to drop some insane shit. You know what's so good about all of these exercises, obviously, as we put it all together. We want you to walk away from this understanding how important perception is to reality. Obviously, in those last couple of videos, even though it had something to deal with entertainment, we showed you the esoteric side of this, how important sexual energy is. You know, who becomes the face of it, who becomes the face of this degenerate energy as they communicate through signs and symbols. I mean, how important it is for us to be symbol literate. You see what I'm saying? So we're going to delve a little bit more off into that too, because this is extremely important. And we're also going to get a better idea of who the characters are in this game as we go through these crystal wars. So we're going to recap on a couple of other things just to show you, because a lot of these things are important. So we usually don't jump back, taking a look at some of the concepts that we had talked about or that we had brought forth in some of the previous other segments and stuff. But this is going to be extremely important because, as I said in the beginning, it is extremely important to change the way you see this so-called experience in order for you to hasten your spiritual development. You gotta see it that way. Because hold on, let me put this up so I can make sure I prep this and share my screen, because we're gonna share my screen in a minute. But remember, before we go into this, guys, let me put this other screen up too. I got a little bit to do. A little bit unprepared because I came quick. You know what I'm saying? So let me already put this together, but just a ton of great information. But basically what we were saying, we want you to see this sexual energy, and we're gonna talk about it in a couple of different ways, because this is all about layered meaning. That's what you have to understand, layered meaning. I'm pretty sure the FOS squad, y'all ready for this type of things. But, you know, like we said, we put all of this stuff together specifically for this type of segment right here, so that now that we can go deeper off into a lot of these things, and we can see, like I said, who are the real players behind some of these, behind these games, and, the position that we take now can be one with a greater sense of urgency, because we know how the game is being played and we see it in a different way. So when we talked about in those previous segments about, how they manipulate energy through symbolism and stuff, and how it gets even greater, how it has a foundation in our science, right? Because we understood, as we talked about in these previous segments, how this energy was in crystal form. Matter of fact, let's recap just a little bit. I'm gonna share my screen for a second. Share my screen for a second. Share my screen for us. Let me see right here. Give me one. Remember this. Remember we talked about just something simple as lactose. Remember we showed you this lactose crystal. We showed you this. These are crystals, brothers and sisters. We talked about us being the crystallogians. We don't have to go too deep off into that, but we want to remind you of some of these things. But this is critical. This is essential. I didn't show you all these things for nothing. I didn't bore you with all of that science for nothing. I laid a lot of groundwork specifically for this event. This is about to be huge. So now we see, obviously, we're talking about crystals, and we know that lactose is key for, a baby's development, right? Lactose is a combination of glucose and galactose. All right. That gives you lactose. This is essential for a baby's development and stuff. So we know how critical these crystals are to our formation. Enough being said. So I'm a minimize my screen, and I'm gonna talk right back to you. So basically what I'm about to show you, before we delve off into this, so I'm going to show you what this power is. It's in a physical form that they can see to a certain degree, right? They got to go through coloring and all that different stuff. But the fact of the matter is, they know these things are crystals. How do we know? We're going to show you. We're going to show you without a shadow of a doubt. We're going to bring up an article. Walk with me right quick. We just setting this up, brothers and sisters. We just setting this up right quick. And we're going to show you a video. We're going to show you a video too as well. We're going to show you a video too as well, because I had mentioned this, but I want you guys to commit this to memory, because this is extremely important. This is extremely important. Hold on. Let me find it right quick. Let me find it. Come on now. Where you at? Hold on. I might have to. Yeah. Hold on 1 second, you guys. Okay. Now, this is important, and I want y'all to see this. This is critical. Always bringing the heat. Let me check the chat right quick before I bring this heat, because it's about to get, I'm telling y'all, it's, forgive me for, I'm just trying to put all of this stuff together for y'all, because it's about to be dope right quick. It's about to be super dope, right? All right. So I'm about to share my screen. Matter of fact, when I share my screen, I want to see, I'm sharing my screen. I already did that before, so I should have checked before I did it the first time. But let me get ones in the chat to make sure that you guys can hear me, okay? Can you guys still hear me as the screen is being shared? I'm going to check the chat right quick, and I'm going to go on. And then we about to get into this fire. Checking the chat. I'm just waiting. Checking it. I'm just waiting. It's a delay. So, yeah, if you guys can still hear me, well, just let me know so we can get into it while the screen is being shared. So, all right. So, yeah. Okay. So I'm getting ones. All right. So let's go. All right. So what I want to show y'all. Okay. We're showing y'all Rosalind Franklin. All right. Making life crystal clear. All right. Making life crystal clear. This is Rosalind Franklin in DNA scavenger hunt. All right. Remember we told y'all this is the lady right here who had given a photo to those two scientists who we talked about were credited with the DNA discovery. She did this through a process they call X-ray crystallography. Right now, even before we get started, look at the deep symbolism up here in this photo. A collection of protein and virus crystals. Okay, these are what I'm telling y'all. When they go to war with y'all, the molecular level is in crystal formation. I told y'all this before, but this is right here. This is like I said. We're just gonna go off into the heavy stuff first. We're not even gonna hold you up. All right. So It says that in the early 1950s, biologists were searching for the answers to some of the most important science questions left unanswered. How was information stored inside living cells? Could there be only way these instructions were packaged? If there is, what does it look like? How did it work? All these questions were an important part of biology, and many scientists were racing to find the answers. All right. Then they talk about James Watson and Francis Crick and all of this different stuff. But obviously it was this woman right here who was deep off into this, and it's showing you, we're going to go deeper off into the symbolism. She definitely letting you know that she deals in the occult. You got to understand that we're going to expose all of these different things. But one thing I want to let you know is the heavy symbolism, and letting you know that, as I told you before, the discovery of DNA was through a science they called X-ray crystallography, which is a study of how crystals form. How important is this? How important is this, brothers and sisters? I'm going to tell you, because so many and so often, a lot of our brothers and sisters, when we talk about things like this, they relegate this to obscurity because it sounds like science fiction or you're a conspiracy theorist. Nothing could be further from the truth. Under what you know is under your surface is this science from the occult that holds up your worldview. You think that it has everything to do with, what you learned in biology class or microbiology. But under that, the closest thing to that is chemistry. And underneath chemistry is this science called alchemy, which holds everything up. We're going to disclose that to you. We're going to show you that without a shadow of a doubt, because many of you have not heard about these organisms like viruses and bacteria and your cells being articulated as crystals. You haven't heard about it like that. You haven't heard about a science called crystallography that they use to see DNA. That's why I tell these brothers all the time, when you're so loose to talking about what these Europeans have dictated through European science, you have to know what it is. You sitting around talking about what the European talking about, but don't even know how the European came about this knowledge. That is insane. That is insane. Okay? That's what you need to know. So we about to go deep off into this stuff, because you have to understand that this is how they get down, by communicating through signs and symbols. All right. So what you're about to also get an understanding of too. Let me see. I got it right. Hold on one second, brothers and sisters. Hold on one second. All right, because I want to show you this. All right. In 2014, the United Nations designated it as the International Year of Crystallography. This commemorative year celebrated the centenary of the discovery of X-ray crystallography, a groundbreaking scientific technique that has significantly contributed to our understanding of the structure of matter. Crystallography plays a critical role in various fields, including material science, healthcare, agriculture, and biotechnology. By revealing the arrangement of minerals and the molecular structures of life, crystallography enables scientists to design new materials and life-saving medicines. Okay, so the goal of IYCR 2014, or the Year of Crystallography, was to raise awareness about the power of crystals, foster global cooperation, and create new partnerships. It emphasized the importance of crystallography in achieving inclusive, sustainable development, a vision that benefits both people and the planet. So you got to understand how critical this is. So like I told you before, get out of this idea, get away from this idea, or this stigma that is attached to people who think like this, who think critically, like we're some sort of conspiracy theorists because we're talking about crystals. But unfortunately, a lot of you individuals, not saying a lot of the FOF squad, but a lot of individuals that talk about crystals talk about the from what's outside of us, failing to realize that you are built on this science. Carbon can only bond in a form called diamond cubic. Carbon only bonds in crystal formation. They've known this since they hijacked your knowledge. This is high science, literally at work. They commemorated the understanding of this science by the International Year of Crystallography. The United Nations did this. So if anybody's a pseudoscientist, it is the powers that are against you who understand exactly what's going on. That's what you need to know. So when I hear people, sit up there and even allude to what we talk about maybe, and have nobody's even, said anything like this, but sometimes you can feel it. And I want anybody who has any, second thoughts about what we talk about here on this channel, as if it's too fringe, or if it's too much on the fringe, or if it's too, controversial, then you must understand this. You must understand without a shadow of a doubt, this is what the elite are doing in their spare time. This is what they're obsessed about. Okay. And they understand, like I told you before, that they, once they discovered what it was that made you tick, they understood that they had to, reach their tentacles into every facet of life. And this is what we're going to go into, because what we got to get you to understand. Hold on. Let me minimize this because I'm talking too much with the screen. What you got to realize is that in order to accomplish this, it had to take over the entire so-called planet. So when we talk about solar engineering, geoengineering, we had to understand that they were taking over sexual energy, not just among human beings, but the entire planet. So when we use terms like solar and geoengineering, right, we got to understand, or social engineering, right, who has babies, who doesn't. These are all terms, like we said, are all camouflage for, them stopping or inhibiting or manipulating sexual energy. But our downfall is, unfortunately, the way that we've been educated through European science, we've seen sexual energy one-dimensionally, as if it's just a necessary evil, just used for procreation. And obviously, it's been adulterated and it's been thrown into, a lot of confusion, through the Western lens, through the way that they promote and market it through movies and such and music. But the point being is that what we have to understand is that when we look at it for what it truly is, for its ability to not just take us to the next level in terms of being a boy to a man or a girl to a woman, it takes us to the next level in terms of our spiritual in terms of spiritual acumen. So if we want to get to the highest level spiritually, then it's going to take that sexual energy in order to accomplish it. Okay? And they know in order to accomplish their goals, in order to completely create this artificial matrix they desire, they have to conquer Mother Nature in that regard. If you block out the sun creates this food that we call fruit. Remember, we told you what fruit is. The scientific definition of a fruit is the female ovary. We told you what flowers is. That's the anatomy or the sexual character of a plant. All right? So we eat this energy to stay alive. If the sun doesn't hit the plants don't provide us with this sexual energy to survive. All right, the bees, we see that they're going extinct. If the bees don't survive, then 80 to 90% of what humans eat is no longer something that we'll have available to us. All right, and it's this sexual energy. It's the birds, the bees, the wind participating in this magnificent and sophisticated orchestra that we call sexual energy at its highest level. That's what this is. And we are in concert with it. And in order for them to accomplish their goal, as I said, they must control it. And even more so, the only way that they're going to be able to accomplish it successfully is by making sure that they condition you to believe that this energy is one-dimensional. It's only used for procreation. Ain't nothing more to it. You should avoid it other than that. And that is the worst thing that you can do, in my opinion. But we'll push the evidence for it, because like we said, on this channel, it's about facts over feelings. It's not about me trying to, get you to think a particular sort of way. It's about me providing the evidence and you come to your own determination. But as I said before, let's continue on, because this is extremely important. So as we now know, we're talking about crystals and how these things form. Important video that we're about to watch. I want to preface it by 1976 Copyright Act, Section 106, allowances made for fair use for the purposes of, I believe it's Section 107, I'm sorry, allowances made for the fair use for the purposes of commentary, criticism, news reporting, scholarship, education, but overall here at the FOF Squad, waking your ass up. All right, so we're gonna take, it's only a 4-minute video, but it's crucial. It's going to help and aid in us, obviously, changing our the way we look at this experience, right? All right, as the Crystallologians. All right, and then we're gonna go deeper into these wars and stuff. So we're gonna take a look at this video, play it from the beginning. Let's get it.
Most of us use crystals every day in the form of regular sugar and salt. When we look at these crystals under a microscope, not much is going on.
Okay, so pause. What's also important, like we said, even on a simple level, we use these crystals in the form of sugar and salt. We use them all the time. They name these crystals, these sugars, these products, crystal sugar. They tell you about, anytime they give you another weak version of them, they talk about how it's crystal light. They've been communicating to you through signs and symbols this whole time. But like we said, it's our job now to wake up to these things. This is the age of enlightenment, and we're going to wake up to how this existence really operates at the most fundamental level. All right, so let's continue.
But if we force the crystals to grow in a thin layer on a microscope slide and illuminate them with polarized light, it's an entirely different story. This little trick also allows us to observe crystal growth under the microscope. For this video to make sense, I will shortly describe the basic science going on here, but this is in no way the full story, but just a brief overview to let you know a bit about what is going on. So a crystal is a solid where the individual molecules are arranged in a highly ordered three-dimensional structure, like we see in grains of sugar and table salt. Compared to when a substance is dissolved in a liquid and all the individual molecules are just floating randomly around. When we then take the solution, put a thin layer on a slide and let it crystallize, the molecules rearrange themselves to form a solid. The spacey colors we see with the polarized light appears because some crystals are what is called birefringent. This means that light will behave differently depending on the way it enters the crystals.
Okay, so even this is small. I know this dude's kind of boring, but he's saying some very powerful stuff. Even we talk about crystal arrangement and how these crystals are arranged will determine how light passes through it. So even when we talk about all that esoteric symbolism, when we talk about your body being light, us, putting forth an attempt to produce, to recreate our body to where it will be a great transmitter of light and become light. This is how it happens. This is one of the reasons, I had me and a friend was discussing this when it talked about how when colonialism came to these lands that were inhabited by the indigenous, you have to realize they came for the crops and the food or the crystals first. Corn, all these things is where they make the sugar or these crystals from. What your body makes it at. The number one source of glucose or these crystals were the plants. So when they came and colonized your land, it is important that you understand that they came to take over the crystals first. And how they rearrange these crystals now when they're in their labs will determine how your body will react to light. And remember, when I pointed out a book to you by Nina J. Jablonski, which was entitled Skin, she told you that one of the main properties of skin is to absorb light. That's one of the main properties of your skin. So if these crystals that you take in help to manipulate light, then how much more important are these crystals that you take in for, light absorption? And for it to play a key role, obviously, in biological function. How do we know light plays an important role? Because then you go back to your pineal gland and how it's set into what we call about biological rhythms. When there's no more light being transmitted to the eyes and the pineal gland begins to secrete melatonin. We're going to go deeper off into some of these things, but I'm just laying the groundwork. So I'm showing you how important light is to your organism. So we see how essential light is to the organism. So this shows you how profound and essential crystals are as they transmit light. Very key and important, brothers and sisters. I know we're getting a little sciencey, but we got to lay the groundwork because so many people think that the way we think in the conscious community is rooted in all of this conspiracy talk, when in reality, truth is stranger than fiction, and this is exactly the foundation on which the so-called Western matrix exists and stands. Let's continue.
Shine a white polarized light through the birefringent crystals. The individual light waves will interact differently with the crystals, altering the waves a bit in respect to each other. And depending on the thickness and orientation of the crystals, we get a change in color. Depending on which substance we
The screen not shared? Hold on.
crystallizing speed changes dramatically.
Hold on. Somebody said the screen not shared. Let me see something. Oh, the screen isn't shared, is it? Sorry about that, you guys. Sorry about that. Okay, so we probably, I don't know how long that was.
Under the microscope.
Sorry about that.
For this video to make sense, I will shortly describe the basic science going on here, but this is in no way the full story, but just a brief overview to let you know a bit about what is going on. So a crystal is a solid where the individual molecules are arranged in a highly ordered three-dimensional structure. So I think we went past
that part, but one thing he's going to do is going to show you these crystal formations. He's going to show you, as you see, it's how they form, right? And what he's going to do is show you, like, even in a saturated solution, what you have is this potential energy.
In its liquid form.
Okay.
The liquid is what is known as a supersaturated solution, which means that it really wants to crystallize, but it needs something to initiate the process. A nucleation site.
And this is how the bonding takes place. So you have to understand, like, Especially when you have the right, this is what we talked about, having the right foundation, when you have the right water, when you have the right sugars and all of this different stuff. We're going to prove that without a shadow of a doubt in the last article that we provide at the end of this segment, when we talk about something else, right, that's related to all of this. But as you can see, this is what takes place in our bodies when we get a hold of these crystals. They bond with each other. As we've showed you, this is simple stuff because we told you how simple sugars just do that. When glucose bonds with galactose, it makes lactose. Okay, when you have glucose bonding with glucose, you make maltose. You've ever heard of malt liquor before? So we went over this information, but it's important that you digest this because you have to see it in a different way now. You have to see this as crystals bonding with each other. Sugars and salts are nothing but names for something else. Stop looking at what the Blanco calls it as if that's its first name. That's what he named it. That's what he named it. So the closer description to this energy is crystals. That's what it is. You want to call it sugar crystals, salt crystals, I don't care what you put in front of it, but the reality of it is you're dealing with crystal energy. All right, this is what's so essential to all of this, and this is what we got to understand. So this crystal energy is basically tied into this liquid, what we call our plasma. We talked about plasma before, right? So we're gonna tie all of this stuff together. So I know it seems like it's going a little bit all over the place, but we're gonna tie it all together. And sorry for that. I thought that the screen was being shared at that time, but that's why I be trying to check the chat. I checked the chat and found out brother thought he was on a rift and shit. It didn't have the screen share, but we're gonna lower that screen right quick. And so we're gonna talk about as we talk about this energy. Hold on one second. Let me prime this right quick. As we talk about this energy now, and this energy is this plasma energy. See, what you're going to realize is what I'm going to build is finna show you how key all of these characters are. Because, see, one thing we told you how lucrative plasma is. You see what I'm saying? As a business and everything like that, because of how it contains these rich crystals. We've already exposed that, right? And so when we take a look at how does that apply to sexual energy now, right? Okay, so when we take a look at how we've been taught about the human body, right? We're gonna go into a little biology right quick, and we talk about what happens when the man ejaculates in the semen, right, which is produced in the testes. But a lot of us have not been taught in school that the vast majority of that energy is plasma. This shit is deep. Watch this. Watch what I tell you. Watch what I show you. I'm gonna share my screen right quick. So this is something that you have to know. You have to understand this, brothers and sisters. And this all going to be leading. It's going to end in a phenomenal way. Watch what I tell you. The enigmatic seminal plasma, a proteomics insight from ejaculation to fertilization. All right. We know this is only for adults, so let's just keep it funny. All right. So, it says main body. Seminal plasma contains a large diversity of proteins that are essential not only for sperm transport, but also for sperm protection and maturation. Most of the proteins bind the sperm surface through exosomes and modulating sperm function, interaction with the female reproductive tract, and finally fertilization. This review focuses on the state-of-the-art discoveries regarding SP proteome and its role in fertilization. All right. And we're going to go down. Hold on one second. I'm going to show you something that's critical in here, right? Okay. Composition of seminal plasma. Seminal plasma is constituted by secretions derived from the testes. Only 2 to 5% of what a man excretes or ejaculates is sperm cells. Okay. 65 to 70% is this plasma. All right. So only 2 to 5% is actually the sperm cells. So it's this, mind you, when I told you about these vampires, let me talk to you as I say this, because I'm finna share my screen, go back to the original. One thing you have to understand, when I told you we're dealing with plasma vampires, we're going to substantiate this. Oh, we got a hell of an article that's just finna bring all of this, because you think you know who the key players are all in this game, but you really don't have an understanding. Remember, I told you about these wars and who really represents them, who has greater access to it. Because one thing that you're going to understand without a shadow of a doubt, we're not going to leave you in suspense, that the Blanco, the European woman has a lot more access to this energy than the Blanco male, and she's been spearheading a lot of these movements. She's been looking like this benign character in the background, but she's actually been spearheading a lot of these movements. You must understand that. You see what I'm saying? And this is another way to take in plasma. And you wonder why, and I'm going to prove it without a shadow of a doubt. So many people, when they articulate this energy, and it could be, obviously, when you're dealing with the media and how they are able to propagate the image of the European woman, you'll state that, oh, well, yeah, that does play a role into how a man sees a woman, especially of another race. That's granted, right? But the point being is that you have to understand that's by design, because so many people don't see that. They like, oh, well, that plays no role. You think these little boys grow up with 85% of the school, the teachers being Blanco women, okay? And that they understand at the esoteric level, one of the reasons as to why they desire it this way, right? Access to the plasma energy. One thing that you got to understand is they have access to the energy in a different way than the Blanco male has it, because as we shown you in this article, the seminal plasma, as they tried to make it seem like, did nothing. Oh, it just assisted the sperm cells. It got them to move. Then the Blanco went back and did his research and said, this seminal plasma, this electrical energy, not only gets the sperm to move, it starts doing its job inside the walls of the woman's vagina, starts sending off messages, creating an atmosphere and an environment that allows for the egg to be fertilized. So it does much more work, this plasma energy, and that over 75%, and in some cases 90 to 95% of what a man excretes is plasma, and only 2 to 5% is this semen, or what you call obviously the semen that you see or is swimming. So you see how he captures your imagination and takes you further away from what's actually going on the esoteric level. This is deep shit. This is real deep shit. You see what I'm saying? So this woman knows this. She's aware of this because he normally takes his plasma through meat eating and blood in a different way. All right? That's what you're more comfortable with seeing. And the Blanco woman, takes her plasma in through obviously, through sexual intercourse, because one is the highest form of energy. All right, it's the highest form of energy. So we have to understand, have black men been complicit in all of this, with now having an affinity for the European woman? Yeah, one could argue that, but that's not what we're here for. We're taking a look at the esoteric side. We're taking a look at those who are in power and why they needed it to be this way. We looked at the surface level, why it was designed. We knew that they had to breed in with us in order to stabilize their numbers. All right? And to create viability within their race, so to speak. So this was needed. There's movies out there like Rabbit Proof Fence, and obviously it's documented accounts as to whereas they forced amalgamation with us in order to get a little bit of that black blood to survive in this realm, and we know that continues, right? So we ain't got no questions about that. But the point is, you got to see it on the esoteric level. In order for them to do the real work, and in order for them to integrate with Mother Nature on that level, in terms of what the European woman was concerned, she needed that plasma, that key that could only be given to her through sexual intercourse, sex magic, if you will. This is always deep occult shit. You have to understand that there is no such thing as the occult without sexual energy coming right along with it. You must understand that there is no such thing as the occult without sexual energy coming right along with it. And I'm going to prove that without a shadow of a doubt. We just getting started. This is deep. So what you're going to see is that, let me go to this article. Let me bring it up. So hold on for 1 second, brothers and sisters. Hold on for 1 second. Okay. All right, so we discussed that. Okay, blah, blah, blah. All right. So yeah, so what we're going to do now, yeah, that's what I want to do. All right, so what we want to do now is show you. So since we knew that, I'm going to show you how deep this game go. I'm going to show you how deep the game went, or how deep the game goes, right? All right, I'm going to pull up this article. I'm finna share my screen with you guys. All right. This article was the Sexual Revolution of the Roaring Twenties, Practice or Perception by Sheila Clark, the college at Brockport. And I'm not going to go too deep off into this. We're just going to lay the groundwork. In 1920, she was talking about, how it was this sexual revolution that was going on amongst Europeans and stuff. I just wanted to read something to get you clear to understand about sexual, and then we're going to go off into, we're going to layer this to show you exactly what's going on. All right. She said the 1920s were a time of monumental change in nearly every aspect of American life, but perhaps none more conspicuous than sexuality. Since the arrival of the Puritans, polite society in America gave the impression that human sexuality was acceptable only within the bounds of marriage and only as a slightly distasteful means of procreation. Okay, so that's just showing you the view. So we just gonna go down. We're going to talk about the epidemic of venereal disease among American soldiers during World War I led to a crisis in values regarding prophylaxis and shed light on some realities of sexual behavior. An estimated 96% of cases of venereal diseases were contracted prior to a soldier's entrance into the service, illustrated the prevalence of sexual activity even before reaching the brothels of Europe in spite of mainstream America's reluctance to acknowledge it. So basically, why am I saying all of this? The point being is that when you go to war, if you know every war, with war comes along sexual energy, sex. Okay, why is this important? This is important because this is how the Blanco had attempted to, after they got to a position where they felt like they were stable biologically, that he could spread his seed. He had did that everywhere he went and colonized. This is very, very key. This is very, very key as he grafts himself into humanity. This was the whole thing. She was damn near aware of this. And I'm going to show you how the Blanco woman was fully aware of this. And like this was the case. Even when we showed you the movie, Rabbit Proof Fence, we showed you how the individual was articulating to Blanco women how they will go about grafting themselves in. But the way he articulated it was if that they were doing the indigenous a favor, grafting them into civilization. But we know nothing could be further from the truth, right? But this point is that what you see is this can never be the case too, is that many of them were suffering from venereal disease in terms of natural relationships. How do we know this? Because we just put out an article from the previous segment and we showed you the nature and the culture of the European with that 1884 convention with Franklin Delano Roosevelt, 2.5 years old or so, I believe. And he was what? He was dressed in an outfit that some would call against the nature of a young boy, right? So some would say. But the point is that was the culture. All right, so we know that the culture of the European was not one in which he really even had an affinity for his women, right? How do we know this? Okay, before we go off into that, hold that thought. Please hold that thought. This is what we're talking. This is what you got to understand. This is important. All right, I want to show you how much his woman was behind this. Okay, we're finna go into this other article right quick. I'm finna show you something. Be patient with me, brothers and sisters. Finna put all of this together. Okay, this is a curious case of Maria Orsic. All right, this is how they tried to make her out to look. This is supposedly the real picture, look dramatically different from her. But this woman right here is who Hitler took orders from, right? She was a German. She was part of the German national movement, right? Part of the German national movement. She was an occultist. All right, she was the leader of this. She was a transcendental medium for Zagreb. She met in Schopenhauer Cafe in Vienna. This guy who knew Hitler, right? They had extensively studied the Golden Dawn, his teachings, rituals, and especially his knowledge about Asian secret lodges. Bettendorf and Hasselhofer were experienced travelers of India and Tibet and much influenced by the teachings and myths of those places. All right. So that just to give you a little bit of background of her and the guy. This is, the occult that he tried to be a part of, the guy that she met. All right. Okay. And they became, she's a member of the Thule Society. And it goes on to say that she's the leader of this, leader of this so-called Vril Society, the Thule Society and stuff. All right. And she's the one who gave transmissions to Hitler and to build these so-called ships or these alien ships. Suppose this is the myth behind this. Now, it don't matter what, a lot of people believe. It matters what they thought that they believed. Right. So here's this woman giving orders and to Hitler, talking about how she has a direct connection. They grew their hair this long because he said, and that the hair obviously was a connection to the ancestors and ancestral knowledge and obviously other dimensions and stuff. See, this is where they took the knowledge, because we already know this, because we know that the Germans, when it came to the swastika, when it came to the black sun and all of these images and symbols that they took came from the indigenous people. So we know they're already snatching symbols to snatch power. So when that woman, and it was a group of women that she had a group of women that were with her that also had a lot of power around her, and they were seen as these mystical individuals whom Hitler and them took advice from. All right. Because they knew that being tapped into feminine energy was something that they obviously had a direct more access to, obviously, than men. And the men respected this because they knew that the European woman is their portal here. Okay. And you will find out that a lot of these European women are into what you would think is, or you would classify as, witchcraft. Now, this is in World War II. Remind you, I'm setting the stage for all this. All this is important. This is during World War II, brothers and sisters. Okay, so this is during World War II. So when you get movies out there with women and, and series about women and witchcraft, is it life imitating art or art imitating life? This happened before your movies. Okay, this was happening before your movies. That's one thing that you got to understand. This is important. All that stuff that people are saying in pseudo happened before the movie. So everything you associated with sci-fi was happening before sci-fi was even created. This is deep shit. This is what they were doing. Okay? And so when you take a look at some of these things, we're going to go into another article, right? We're going to go into another, and this is very important. All right, so now you see, why did I set all of that up? This is important. This is extremely important. I set all of that up because of this. Watch how this goes. Watch how this goes. All right. Now, this article is about the mixed race children. They're called brown babies. I don't know if anybody, if anybody had an understanding of what brown babies were. Matter of fact, let me make sure I got this article. Matter of fact, let me make sure. Okay, yeah, I'm sharing my screen. All right, hold on one second. One second, you guys. Where is it at? Gotta be. Man. All right. So, where is this article at? All right. So, yeah, I don't know why it's not. I think this is it. Yeah, I think this is it. Yeah, this is it right here. I'm sorry, you guys. It took so long. Just didn't recognize the article. This was brown babies, and I want to read y'all a little bit. It said the offspring of white European women and African American soldiers during and immediately after World War II. At that time, the term brown babies was popularized in the African American press, which published a series of human interest stories on the topic. Because romantic and sexual contact between black men and white women was largely taboo in the U.S. during that period, the presence of brown babies challenged prevailing American attitudes. Okay, the U.S. military had attempted to maintain the racial status quo, blah, 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 all this different stuff. So I'm going to go down to the most important part of this article. Okay, but military policies held firm. In the United Kingdom and Italy, for example, African-American GIs were rarely allowed to marry the mothers of their children. And in Germany, interracial marriage was simply forbidden, though German women bore the greatest number of brown babies. Pause. This is what's so important. See, I said all that. Now watch how I put all of this together. I said all that. If you guys are walking with me and stuff and you stayed into this chat, and I know it's been a lot of mumbling because of all of the scientific jargon and all that, but I said all that to say this to show you how complex and sophisticated this game is. If you've noticed, even that chick who was behind all of this, that gave all of these messages to Hitler, who was into this German nationalism and how the Germans are the supreme race. If you look at World War II, you take a look at the Germans, you take a look at Hitler. Hitler is seen as the epitome or the acme of white supremacy, right? That white people felt like they were better than any other race, right? You get that. We see that he's the big bad boogeyman for the so-called Jewish people. So we understand how they promote Hitler. So with that being said, think about the game that was played with the article that I just read you, which lets you know, even at the height of so-called white supremacy in Germany, the women who walked away with the most black babies was German women? Can you please, are y'all just understanding what I'm just dropping on you right now? The very place which was seen as the epitome or the acme of racial superiority, of the racial superiority complex with the so-called European. It was actually, his woman had more births from black men than any other place. You don't find that amazing? This is why I'm letting you know this how sophisticated the game is. The men know what they're doing. The women know what they're doing. They know exactly what you are and what they have to do. I told you about how, with the plasma, and then now you're talking about the sexual energy and the sexual plasma, which is desire. So when you see this attraction, a lot of these women, especially in Germany, it's articles out there where it say that some of the soldiers were more comfortable in Germany than they were in the United States. And yet Germany was promoted in the United States as the apex of racism with Hitler. Okay? So it showed you that these women, as all that talk, they still had a longing because many of them knew where the energy lied just to get the energy. And many of them, when they got the energy, they put the baby up for adoption. They didn't even want the baby after that. That's how powerful it was for the energy to become a part of, because what do crystals do? When you get crystals, remember, in this article, I like to bring it up too, because I should have it. Even if I don't have it, you can look it up. The seminal composition of, in terms of sugar, it's like 75% fructose. Much of a male's, semen is not only this plasma, right? We know it's plasma. It's these crystals in the form of fructose. So 75% of this energy is crystal in the form of what we call fructose or sugar. Okay? So this powerful crystal, because as we said, when the crystals enter the body, they bond. Okay? It gives them an opportunity to bond with the energy and become, somewhat normal, if you will, as they interact with the energy that Mother Nature provides in this realm. That's the whole point. The whole reason for the artificial matrix is because they can't do it. So when we take a look at a lot of the things, like I said, yeah, the black man is guilty for buying into a lot of debate, especially now when he should know better. But realize it is an agenda because it is something that they desire. You think in these environments, whether it's in the United States or whether it was in Germany at the height of so-called this complex that the Blanco had in terms of racial superiority, that he would distance himself or wouldn't allow the black man to copulate with his woman. He said you couldn't marry her, but he had nothing about, knowing that this black man is copulating with his woman. Okay? Because they understood this. And with all the superiority talk, what did they rush to do behind the scenes? They rushed to get a little bit of this energy. Because some of the children were kept, a lot of them were discarded. But at the end of the day, they understood the occult energy. All their women have. Let me show you proof. We already know about individuals like Madame Blavatsky. But I'm finna hip you to another woman. Oh, we finna get into it, man. You about to know that they've been doing this for a very long time. And what happens is that a lot of people don't understand that they've been doing this for a very long time, so that we think all of this stuff is new. And nothing could be further from the truth. It prevents us from having a strong sense of urgency. That's the problem with all of this. That is the problem with all of this. So let me prime this next one. Let me get this ready. All right, just to show you something real quickly, just to show you what type of energy they was into and stuff. Right? Hold on. I'm going to look at the chat real quick. Hold on 1 second. Let me watch this. Okay, so this woman right here was married. She got married to Grover Cleveland. Grover Cleveland, one of your presidents, brothers and sisters. Grover Cleveland. He married her when she was 21 years old. His friend, her father was his best friend. He ended up dying. And they had started a law firm together and stuff. He took care. He bought this. He knew this girl since she obviously, because he outnumbers her by at least 3 decades. He's about 50 years old when he married this chick. This is the youngest first lady of the White House, 21 years old, brothers and sisters. Obviously, you can see her symbolism. We already know what she's into. You know what I'm saying? But she was raised in the occult. You see what I'm saying? And this caused a lot of controversy back then, but see, it's forgotten because they wanted to be forgotten. They wanted to be shrouded in history, right? They don't want you to understand these things, because when we showed you with Franklin Delano Roosevelt in terms of him dressing in a certain particular type of way, we showed you in terms of how they get down. This dude bought this baby a first baby carriage and then end up marrying this child. And what did the mother do? No objections, gave her away because she understands what's going on. They understand what's going on, right? I say that to say all of these, and then she had a profound influence and impact on American society, especially American women. You see what I'm saying? So what I'm showing you is that from her to Madame Blavatsky to let me look at you right quick to what I'm showing you, to what I gotta say to you, what I gotta relay to you. From Madame Blavatsky to her, what's her name? Frances, Cleveland. Francis Cleveland, to Rosalind Franklin and X-ray crystallography. All of these women are of the occult. These are what you would term as if, I hate to say it because this term is played out, witchcraft. These women are behind these things. The Blanco woman, a European woman, plays an intricate role and very important role in steering the ship. She puts her man in the forefront, and you get lost and think that that's the power. You get lost, think that that's the power when they understand and already acknowledge and honor that this is their vessel. Okay, and that she is the closest one, because one thing that you're doing, you're living in a realm where we know this is dominated by Mother Nature. That's why we call her Mother Nature. It's not just the fact that when we talk about the ratio of trees that, are female to male and all that different stuff. We're talking about your very essence in life. What bears fruit so that seed can come about. It's all about feminine energy. How much energy that, the female organism contains, and the genes, the so-called genes, and its ability to express on so many different levels is where the power lies in a woman. We showed you that, right? And we showed you how the Blanco will promote this idea that the Blanco woman is the face of fertility and is very powerful energy, but yet he knows in secret that our woman is. We provided detailed evidence of that with these videos, these so-called multimillionaires or billionaires, if you will, sitting up there bidding for the black woman's eggs, right? Offering them about $100 or so, right? When they was just showing you, I contrasted that to a video where ABC News was propagating this idea that the Blanco woman was giving her eggs away for 20 grand a pop. Right? But we know what's really actually going on. So we see that, yes, by nature, and it's not something that's just a shot against anybody, but you have crafted yourself into a parasitical race in a sense that this is what you have to do. And they know that. So when I said all that, I'm saying that when you know where your position lies in terms of how things are put together in this realm, you're only looking for justification. All these Negroes out here arguing, talking about, oh yeah, you could talk to people and it's how they raise and how they think. Not when you're dealing with how things are naturally set up. This is how things are naturally set up. So the only course of action for the Blanco is to create a matrix to where he doesn't have to interact with our form of sexual energy, to where he can reprogram and restructure crystals to where it benefits his existence. And that's what he's done. He's taken your foods and he's recreated them in his labs. He's made them so that it fits his crystal makeup. We've shown you that all these things are at its form, at its base. How it operates is in a 3D organized structure called crystals. That's what crystal just means. A 3D organized structure. You see what I'm saying? And this is deep because it shows you that you cannot argue with this system. This system is, it's going to continue to operate full steam ahead because this is what it has to do. This one thing that you have to understand, this is what it has to do. And in order to get an opportunity to merge itself into this realm, it has to partake, or it has to get close to those who have the right type of crystals, right? All right. And so this is one of the way that they harness that energy, amongst other things. And we told you, Lord knows what they do with blood in other areas. We ain't got to talk about that. These are things we already know. But this is showing you another level of how they use this crystal energy. So one second. I want to, something that I had to pull up. All right. And this is going to be interesting. Hold on 1 second, brothers and sisters. All right, because we're talking about the sexual energy. And so this sexual energy, when we use it or use it correctly or not using it correctly, like, if we're undergoing like some sort of, underwent some sort of abuse, or this is repressed energy, or it's been exploited, this is how the energy can come out incorrectly, because we told you, okay, so now that we know what this energy is, we know that this sexual energy is being adulterated, manipulated, all this different stuff. How do we use it? Is it, is there any practical ways to use this energy? Yeah, first you have to know that this energy is you. It's responsible for taking you to the next level physically, in terms of a boy to a man, in terms of a woman, a girl to a woman. And it's also responsible for taking you to the next level, in terms of your spiritual development. That's one thing that is critical, that Kundalini energy that we talked about. So how you see this energy will determine how well you acquiesce into the new age. Like if you come there kicking and screaming, you're not going to be able to take advantage of this energy, which is just the natural way that things are. When you take a look at nature, this is just the natural way things are. When man put his spin on it, that's what encouraged us to look at it in a particular type of way. And by doing so, who does it hurt at the end? Us. I told you, we provided, and everybody knows this. Some of you may even get these ads on your phone. When you get to a certain age, what happens? He wants to promote this energy to you. He wants to give you hormone replacement and talk about your libido and tell you about how your body's breaking down, how he can help you now. But by then, it's too late. By then, it's too late. This is why, like he said, at the time when you can take advantage of this energy and take the body to the next level, because it's intimately connected to your growth, not just you feeling some type of way of reaching an orgasm. Everything about your body uses this energy. Everything about your existence uses this energy. This is what's so deep about this crystal energy. It's seen as a crystal, but if you were to emotionally encapsulate it, it would be what you call sexual energy. So imagine the people who, the energy that's driving it is sexual, but the capsule in which it's traveling in is in crystal formation. That's the power of this energy. And that's essentially what you're looking at and what you're dealing with. And so when we talked about, that's why you have to see this energy differently. When you see it differently, then you're going to be like, okay, well, I'm finna start taking serious what type of crystals I put into my body. You see what I'm saying? That's what you're going to do. And it's going to be much more of you're going to see much more of a conviction, taking birth inside of you than something that wavers or, you find yourself just being opinionated about. It has to be much more concrete than that. But you go about it first by realizing what the energy is. And sure, some of us have went through some experience where people have made us ashamed of our sexual energy. Some people have been abused. Some people, go through certain things like this. We're finna pull up an article. We know something about what? Nocturnal emissions, right? Nocturnal emissions, you may know it as what's called wet dreams. All right, but we're finna take a look at something else, right? We're finna take a look at something else. It's called sexsomnia, okay? I'm going to share my screen right quick, brothers and sisters. Share my screen. What to know about sleep sex. Now, sexsomnia is obviously a real thing, right? This article was published on December 8, 2023. Daniel Pacheco and Dr. Anis Riemann, internal medicine physician. This is what they talk about. It said a sleep study may help to diagnose sexsomnia or identify another sleep disorder, medical condition associated with sexsomnia. Sexsomnia is a sleep disorder characterized by engaging in sexual activities during sleep. It talks about how people can engage in sexual behavior such as masturbation, sexual movement, sexual aggression, or initiating sex with another person. And what's so critical about this is literally when you wake these people up, they have no knowledge of what it is that they had done. They have no knowledge whatsoever of what they have done. So we're going to read another article and then we're going to go through these, but we're going to put all of these things together. All right. Now we want to talk about, the release of chemicals when you either masturbate or have an orgasm, right? Talks about masturbating having several positive effects, including boosting hormones and chemicals that promote positive emotions, feelings, and sensations. It's going to go through the list of chemicals, right? Hormones and chemical release: dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, prolactin, endocannabinoids. Because a lot of you, not a lot of us, but a lot of our people in the community think that cannabinoids is a bad thing. You produce your own in your own body. But we know this because we know that we plant organisms and stuff, right? So you have your own endocannabinoids, right, that are inside your own body. So what am I saying when I'm contrasting these two articles? I'm showing you that when you use your sexual energy right, I'm sorry, I don't even think I had that up when I was detailing that, but that article was from Medical News Today, and it was talking about the chemicals you release when you have an orgasm, right? Or when you masturbate, from dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, endocannabinoids, etc. So we're talking about all the things that heighten the body senses, that can take the body to the next level, right? But how we see things, like we said, when we go through things that have difficulties with this energy, some people are not in control of it. Some people, when they sleep, they take advantage of themselves or others and then wake up and don't even realize what they're doing. Some people say, oh, you can undergo semen retention, for men. Don't masturbate or anything like that. That keeps your power. But then the body will react. The body sometimes will have you undergo a dream, have a wet dream, or you'll wake up with the sexual organ, and fully erect. Why? Because we told you when you sleep, the pineal gland secretes melatonin. Melatonin is a gonad, it has a gonadic effect, which means what? It acts on the gonads. It acts on the ovaries of a female when she sleep, and it acts on the testes of a male when he is asleep. So once again, we're showing you how important this is, how these people, regardless of who they always are trying to manipulate you to see how sexual energy is. But you have to understand it is the basis, not only of your physical growth, but of your spiritual growth. It's the only way this realm operates. Off this crystal energy and crystal formation, which encapsulates sexual energy. This is deep stuff, brothers and sisters. So the whole point is you being able, as they say, to know thyself. When you talk and look at yourself, we can see ourselves, and even if we see it in the most fundamental aspect, when we look at this energy, when it uses sexual energy, the end result is a sexual experience. Think about it. The body is taking in fruits, flowers. You see what I'm saying? And this is how I tell you how the Blanco all further confuses you. Hold on, let me take a look at the chat. Make sure that because I want to interact with y'all more too. Hold on. Let me refresh this chat. Say King Malik said it's been a while and you got a new channel. Yeah, bro. They took down my other channel. All right. Yeah. So basically, as we're discussing these things, like we said, King Chris said, would you recommend semen retention? I would, what I recommend, is like we said, whatever you think can, will help you to master your energy. Either way, it's going to come out. Because we have to understand this is the basis of this is human nature. When you are not using or bonding with energy from another human being, the body is undergoing that process called mitosis. Remember, this is basic biology. This is biology 101. Meiosis and mitosis. Meiosis is when your energy merges and bonds with another one and you share genetic information, right? You go half on the baby, 23 from the mother, 23 from the father, right? To create that 46. Now, the thing is that instead of sharing, only thing you're doing with your body is you're creating clones. You're creating clones of yourself. That's the only thing that the body is doing through a process called mitosis. But the energy that is using is the same as sexual energy. This is the thing. So harnessing this energy, because you have to understand, whether people want to face it or not, the whole essence of the body, right, becoming one with itself is communication. That is the foundation of what you call the nervous system and the endocrine system. It's about communication, nerve conductivity, nerves communicating and transmitting information to other nerves. Hormones transmitting information to other cells to have an effect on other cells. It's about communication. When you have an orgasm, literally every cell in the body gets the same message. Do you know how powerful that is? During an orgasm, a flood of hormones and neurotransmitters are released, and every cell literally gets the same euphoric message. So what happens? It is upon the individual, the conscious mind, to piggyback a thought on that experience. Because remember, now you got all of the crystals to align. And so now you send your thoughts through when you have that thought. That's how the ancient alchemists used to do it in order to transform physically. So of course, us being the alchemists that we are, I'm finna give some alchemical jewels. But that was how the alchemists seen it. And so since I'm an alchemist, of course, I'm in favor of that outlook. Using your sexual energy in that way. If some people feel that semen retention is good for them, then by all means, do what you want to do. It's your vessel. But I'm letting you know that to master this energy, this is not something that's optional. It's something that you have to do. Because if you don't do it, I guarantee you the Blanco got a pill to sell you when everything goes wrong. How about that shit there? All right. Christian Powell says semen retention is good because the semen gets reabsorbed by the body and breaks down into stem cells, regenerating the entire body physically and spiritually. And this could very well be the case. There is actually a disorder where the semen, if you can call it a disorder, but the semen actually doesn't come out. You know, it's not pushed out of the penis by the urethra. It actually goes back inside, the body. In my opinion, like I said before, being able to understand what the energy is, when to use it, how to use it is at the discretion of the one that holds the energy, right? Me, on the other hand, I mean, it could, there could be times when you get with this fasting, like we call fasting, spiritual or sexual fasting from sexual energy, building up the energy, right? But either way it goes, there is a point in time where the energy in some shape, fashion, or form will force its way through in different ways, whether it be frustration, whether it be, not to say just cognitive, reverberations and shit. Every now and then you'll get a little stagnant cognitively, and so you'll see it expressing itself in different ways, right? So we see that the release of this energy does have its benefits. When and how and you want to do it, or if you want to do it at all, it's solely up to you. But the freedom of this energy is what we say is in question. The freedom of this energy is what's being compromised. Mother Earth is not allowed to use her energy the way that she sees fit. Obviously, we know that's under control. You call it agriculture, but it's a system that has been enacted by Europeans to control Mother Nature's ability to reproduce. The harvest, all this is about harvesting sexual energy. We've already shown you that. So it's like, to you, whatever you feel like you need to do. But one thing is for certain. If you want to talk about the pineal gland, and everybody talks about how the pineal gland is the seat of the soul and how activating your pineal gland takes you to the highest level. The pineal gland activates with sexual energy. It's releasing melatonin, its main hormone, and its main hormone acts on your gonads. That's just fact. So that's why I tell you all the time, when you accept a certain dogma or a doctrine, remember how dangerous that is, because it puts you in a box. Because all of a sudden now, if you may disagree with a certain stance, you can't all of a sudden take away the power of the pineal gland and its connection to sexuality. But then also say, well, I know the pineal gland is the way that, you get to the highest level when your pineal gland is open and active. Well, you got to take the good with the bad if you see sexuality as bad, because the pineal gland uses its energy through sexual means. Okay? Or through a sexual experience, if you will. Mind you, this is how they manipulate animals into breeding outside the breeding season. Okay? By giving them melatonin. Which, like we said, affects their pineal gland, which can get them to breed out of season. This is how powerful this is. Okay? This is how powerful this is. So you got to understand, man, when we're talking about sexual energy, if you're late on it, if you're behind on it, you say, oh, okay, I'll do it. Use, and then doing what? What else do you think that you're using? You say I'm not using my sexual energy to remind you. Anything, like somebody tell you what brain food is. They'll say, oh, well, when you eat seeds, that's good for the brain. When you eat stuff like avocados and apples and oranges, that's good brain food. You'll do well in school. Eat your vegetables. You'll grow strong. Now look at the Blanco. Remember I told you how he makes sure that he makes you confused about this energy and the power of sexual energy. You have something called vegetables and you have something called fruits. All right. Now we know the scientific definition of a fruit is what? We know it is the ovaries of a female plant. Now, vegetables, a lot of people don't really know that. They just, because you've heard it so much, you don't understand that. If do you have the culinary definition of vegetables, or do you have nature's definition of vegetables? This nature's definition of a vegetable is any edible part of the plant, the fruits, the flower, the stem. Okay, any edible part of the plant is a vegetable. That's why a tomato could be a vegetable and a fruit, because the technical definition of a vegetable is any edible part of a plant. But the culinary definition of a tomato is that it is a fruit. All right. And that it is, and is used in vegetable dishes and stuff like that. Just like grains. Grains are, nature's definition is a seed. Rice is a seed. But the culinary definition of a rice is a grain. You see how deep this shit is? So in nature is saying this is sexual energy. But the Blanco in his culinary and his science right? And this food science has told you that, oh, this is what I wanted to make it be. So this is how it determines how you perceive that particular food, right? This is very important because, like we said, perception is critical to reality. How you see something will determine how you engage in your reality, right? Which in turn will determine whether or not you have a strong sense of urgency. Okay? They have determined what this sexual energy is to you. This is deep shit. So when you take a look at the fruits and the vegetables, how he's cornered the market on that. He has controlled what sexual energy is. So we got to look at, like, our people are not in a healthy mind state because sexual energy is the basis of our thought, of our actions, and our behaviors. And we get it from Mother Nature. And when they're allowed to adulterate our source of our energy that we get from our central power source, then everything is in disarray. So there's no way, once again, it goes back to this point, there's no way that you're going to be able to reconcile your differences with this system. You got to abandon ship. Because how he gets you to see this energy, how he adulterates this energy, how he manipulates this energy is all wrong. And he don't give a fuck if he on a suicide mission or not. That's one thing you got to understand. He don't care if he on a suicide mission or not. It's incumbent upon you to understand what this energy is. It's incumbent upon you to understand what this energy is. Yeah, and Christian Powell says scientists make it so confusing as fuck to understand when it's so simple. Yeah, it is. I mean, like we said before, you don't get a hold of what this energy is when you're in your 40s and 50s and you're in your decline and you're not making as much as your sexual energy. Guess what's going to happen? You're going to have cognitive decline. The body will start to die. Then all of a sudden you're going to be like, oh, I thought this sexual energy was just for fucking and blah. No, it's the basis of your life. It's like how, remember I told you how they muddy the waters in terms of sugar, how you perceive sugar. Like somebody like, oh, I'm off the sugar, I can quit sugar. You can't quit sugar. The blood runs off glucose. The brain runs off glucose. You need it to survive. You can't quit something that's essential for life. Just like you can't turn your back on sexual energy. It is essential for life. That's why we got to make this shit make sense. It is essential for you to master the energy. Okay, that's why you see so many people in here with they take advantage of that energy. And when we are uncomfortable with the energy, like we said, this article about sexsomnia, they talk about a lot of people commit suicide. It's people who diagnosed with this stuff, they commit suicide because they can't control the sexual energy. It's an overdrive. You got these individuals now. We take a look at this. Like, I got a couple more articles and then we're going to wrap this up in a minute. Okay. We're going to wrap this up in a minute. Cause I want to show you how essential this stuff is, man. And then while we're running around saying this is all pseudoscience and stuff, they're in their labs they're in their labs pushing by leaps and bounds. And this is very important. All right. So, I'm gonna show you an article just so you can keep this in the back of your mind in terms of how this goes. Humans are a crucial step closer. Hold on. To regenerating limbs. Okay. It says blastema cells in deer grow into bone and antler. Hold on. Let me make sure I get. Okay, I did share my screen. All right. I want to make sure we're cooking. All right. Holding the key to possible bone regrowth in humans. A Chinese study transplanted blastema cells onto mice, seeing them grow antler-like cartilage. Pause. Okay, first of all, we know that we all share the same type of energy in this so-called realm. We don't need no damn deer antlers to be put on no mice heads, to be growing out of a fucking mice head, to know how powerful this sexual energy is and the ability to regenerate. But this is my point for showing you this article. It's other scientific articles related to that, how they showing like human beings are evolving. How are they evolving? We're thinking differently. They know this is going to open up, or this latent DNA or this junk DNA is soon to open up. Who's it going to open up for? You guessed it first, the Crystallologians. But the point is, this is while we sitting up here berating each other, talking about how we shouldn't be on the next level stuff, you got these Blanco scientists in labs putting deer antlers on mice heads. Okay? Showing you the power of this latent energy. All right? And so even then, so what we're saying is, and we're going to show you another one just so I'm going to put this all together. Right? put this all together. Okay. All right. Yeah, that was the. Okay. Yeah, that was. Yeah, that was. Okay. Yeah. So the point was that when you see them going through the point, making such, going through points to, to take it to that level where they're creating these, hybrids. Okay, to test out and see how the energy actually works. They're fully aware how it works for us because nature will be able to conduct these exercises seamlessly. But the problem with them is in order to regenerate or get that regenerative energy, it has a lot to do with the crystals. They know that that's something that they don't contain, right? So they look for ways, they test out. We see what they do in their laboratories in order to come about doing these things. Yet, if we were to do these things, it would be seen as unethical. We would be seen as people that were out of our mind. But yet we don't see it that way when a Blanco comes to us and write articles about what he's doing in his labs. This is beyond irresponsible. But this is what happens when you cannot go about doing these things naturally. This is the whole point of this. When you cannot go about doing these things naturally. So when we talk about even getting closer to these things, like what we need to do, like even on my personal journey, when we say take care of the fundamentals, right? How do we get to that point where we can become, our highest selves, right? The best version of ourselves. One is take care of the fundamentals, like I'm about to express. Take care of the fundamentals. We know that we're predominantly water beings, right? So our water got to be on. So our plasma is right? The sugars or the hormones that we take in got to be right because this is what takes these bonding. I showed you a video of how these crystals form. That YouTube video showed you how those crystals, as soon as they get the catalyst to come in, to start those crystals, all the crystals just start forming quickly. That's how things, we showed you, how viruses in their crystal forms. We showed you lactose in its crystal forms. We want you to get associated with you. We want you to understand that you are a crystal being. You are the crystallogens. This is how life operates in this realm. All right. So, as we show you that the whole key to this, let me get this. Hold on. The whole key to this. Oh, shit. I don't think my whole. The whole key to the crystal formation is once you understand that that's the way that you form, then you could take, you cleanse yourself. You can take about getting in the right crystals. I thought I had another article to show with this concept I had, but it's, I didn't write it down. So that's my bad. But the point is that you make new crystals with the best crystals you take in. And then why is that hard? I'm going to give you an example of why this becomes hard. All right. In my personal experience, like I was about to tell you, after you take care of the fundamentals, you then have to figure out what crystals help you out. Remember, this is now in the process of getting to know thyself. So first step is take care of the fundamentals, right? Become fundamentally sound. You need to have the best water and the best crystals. Now you got to start figuring out and pinpointing which crystals go with you, right? So throughout my time, like my experience when I was growing up, I knew I loved cocoa. You know what I'm saying? I didn't like chocolate cake and all of that shit too much, but I did love cocoa, right? I used to love making cocoa and all that different shit, the marshmallows and all that different shit. So I knew I had an affinity for cocoa. So when I revisited cocoa and then, did all of the research, understood that cocoa was called theobroma. Theobroma literally translates the food of the gods. Realized that our ancient ancestors, the Olmecs, the Incas, the Aztecs, they all would trade this commodity for gold. You know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. So, I start honing in on what my body would need to regenerate itself, the crystals that would regenerate me. And when I had an affinity for it, immediately I was like, this is it. So then, I started to recap and think about other things that I had an affinity for. I used to love cinnamon too as well. But of course, one thing we're getting these crystals in is its adulterated form. Blanco was feeding you cinnamon toast crunch and cinnamon buns and all of this. So he giving you the crystals. He know you're going to become addicted to these things because at its root, it's what your organism desires. It's just like, remember we talked about, malt liquor, maltose, glucose, two glucose molecules together. Why you think most black men and our people were addicted to alcohol? Because they were getting their glucose from this source. And we let you know it doesn't matter where you get these nutrients from. The body's going to even give you or have you addicted to a bad habit just to get what it needs. This is crucial stuff. Just to get what it needs, the body will get you addicted to bad habits, and that's why it's so hard to get rid of them. So we digress. So the point being is that we got to get the right crystals. We got to be fundamentally sound. And then after that, we got to start searching out for other crystals which complement. Because once these crystals come together, they bond and create powerful hormones, which allows us to transform ourselves. So with that being said, I'm finna show you something about cinnamon. I hope I'm not all over the place, but I'm finna make it all make sense. I'm gonna have a powerful closing, brothers and sisters. Trust me, I have a powerful closing. Powerful closing. Okay. So we finna show you something right quick. Finna show you something right quick. Now, I know I gotta have this here. All right. Okay. All right. So I'm finna share my screen right quick. And this is with cinnamon, right? Cinnamon, because I told you guys I had a taste, I had a knack for cinnamon. Want you to know, obviously, cinnamon is they say, look how this article is headed. Cinnamon, mystic powers of a minute ingredient. Now, in this cinnamon, I'm gonna show you how powerful this stuff is. Now, cinnamon obviously been used, to embalm. The Egyptians used it to embalm their kings and all of this different stuff. Right when they buried people, they start using it at 2800 BC. In some places, obviously, it was worth more than gold. We know this whole thing because they started to understand what was the food of the gods. What creates these powerful crystals? It's an anti-inflammatory, anti-polemic, anti-diabetic, antimicrobial, and anti-cancer effect. Okay. We're gonna go down just a little bit. And so it talks about the importance of cinnamon, how cinnamon is made, because cinnamon comes from the bark of a tree. It's tree bark. What happens is that, let me talk to you guys. What happens is that they strip the tree bark, and the tree bark, they let it curl up. All right. And that's what you get. It's called quills, or you call them cinnamon sticks. You'll buy them as cinnamon sticks. Now, this is what's deep, brothers and sisters. Now, this is what we got to understand. This is why they make it tricky, because they understood it's a game to this when it talks about you becoming an alchemist and getting the right crystals. Okay. Cinnamon with cocoa and all these stuff make powerful crystals. That's why they taste so well together. Remind you, your body gives you signals. Our idea of taste is nothing but a signal that we're giving our body the right crystals. This is one of the reasons why when the Blanco's in his lab creating these artificial representations of crystals, we get tricked into thinking that we're receiving the right crystals, but nothing could be further from the truth. And how do we know this? Because the body eventually ends up breaking down, but I digress. So the point is they know that these certain concoctions, when it came to cocoa and cinnamon, they make powerful crystals or hormones to help regenerate the body. How do we know this? Okay, first of all, we already got them to declare that cinnamon is this mystical energy, right? In a science magazine, PMC Pub, right? We also know that they hide the real type of cinnamon. There's a cinnamon called true cinnamon. Man, we about to watch what I'm telling you. First, we finna share the screen right quick. I'm finna show you how all of this shit is related, man. We talking about cinnamon. I'm finna show you how all this shit related. So they talking about how cinnamon is rich in antioxidants, other beneficial compounds. Some research suggests that it may help you manage blood sugars. Remember, this is powerful. This from Healthline. They said some research suggests that it may help you manage blood sugars. Okay, that's what they said. Now, why is this important? Okay, why is this important? I'm finna show you why this is important, brothers and sisters. Let me bring up this other article right quick. I'm finna show you why this is important. Okay. Hold on 1 second. Get this. Why this is important. Okay. And this is just a This is cross-reference information. I just wanted to pull this up because it was quicker to get to this than any other source. So I'm finna share my screen right quick. Yeah, I'm finna talk to y'all in a second and show you why this is so important. Okay, we finna see the makeup. We're about to see the makeup of cinnamon. Okay, hold on 1 second. Where is this at? Species, cultivation, early man, Middle ages, blah, 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 history, etymology. Come on, I got this. I don't know. Hold on 1 second. All right, so, okay. So here we go. What is going to tell you is that 85%, up to 85%, because I read through this art. Okay, here it go right here. Nutrient composition. Ground cinnamon is 11% water, 81% carbohydrate. 81% of cinnamon is sugar. Now, I'm finna talk to you. This how I'm finna show you, let you know how all of this stuff is deeply rooted in keeping you away from understanding how to put these crystals together. Remember, the article just says cinnamon lowers blood sugar. How can cinnamon lower blood sugar when 81% of cinnamon is sugar? Because it's what type of sugar it is. When your body gets the right crystals, it doesn't continue to keep having you beg for more crystals to raise your blood sugar, and especially the wrong crystals at that. This is the whole point of how you put this together. You know what's so important about this is because it's two types essentially of cinnamon. One is called Cassie cinnamon and the other one is called true cinnamon. Now, most cinnamon that's sold in the United States is the cinnamon that's from Indonesia, Vietnam, and in China. So China is the biggest producer. So China, Indonesia, and Vietnam. Now the true cinnamon comes from Sri Lanka, most or in India. You see what I'm saying? That's the biggest producer. Don't get it wrong. It's just these regions. It's these trees. It's not the people. Because remember, people have migrated. And we know that the original people of these lands, the indigenous, were people from our framework. So we ain't got to contest that or talk about that. But we're telling you that this cinnamon that you got to get, if you all in the cinnamon, the form that you can get if you take it a lot is this one called true cinnamon that you're supposed to get from India. It's much more expensive. You can order it online and it's called true cinnamon. You see what I'm saying? Because the cinnamon that they sell us in America, it's got a huge toxin in it. I mean, it's got huge levels of the toxin that after a while becomes obviously toxic to the human body. You see what I'm saying? And it's called cinnamaldehyde. Cinnamaldehyde, which is cinnamon and aldehyde, which is the name of it, plus an aldehyde, right? Which is also responsible for its antimicrobial and bacterial effects. But at the end of the day, too much of it harms the body. So a lower percentage of it is in true cinnamon, amongst other things, right? But that's not what they feed us here. You see what I'm saying? So you see how powerful, even when we talk about managing and mixing crystals, how we can get lost in what you call generality. When we go back to our fundamentals, people say drink water, but it's what water? We've already realized that. We know this water is trash. Okay, we explain that in other segments, right? When somebody tells you to go eat vegetables and fruits, we got to tell you which fruits and which vegetables. Okay, you have to relook and re-envision or re-establish what you think that vegetables and fruits are. Sexual energy. Okay, so now you got to look at this world in a different light in order to change and become light. This is what's so essential about all of this. So you see, even with something as simple as cocoa and cinnamon, how it all plays a role in helping to accentuate the sexual energy that we need to take ourselves to the next level. But if we're giving poor information, or if we just overgeneralize this energy, these crystals that we're supposed to take in, guess where it leads us down? And because we're looking at this energy, and we hear theobroma, food of the gods. We hear cinnamon talking about its mystical properties. Well, how come we don't have them effects when we take it in? Because the Blanco know the devil is in the details. The Blanco know the devil is in the details. So if you're not taking in the cinnamon in its right form, in its right crystal formation, if you're not taking in the cocoa in its right crystal formation, all to naught. It's actually being weaponized against you. Because the Blanco knows when it goes in your crystal body, it's going to make crystals that then in turn give you a different energy. And that energy then begins to break down the body. You begin to attack yourself. And they say it as an immune response. Oh, an autoimmune disorder. Because they understand crystal framework. We told you that they commemorated this idea or this concept, and honored it in a celebration in 2014 with the United Nations. Okay? They are fully aware of the way crystals form life. That's what you have to understand. I don't think nobody else presenting this information to you. See, we got to understand how important these crystals are. You got to understand that. This is critical for your transformation. Hold on, let me look in the chat. Yeah, Carrie Jack said, what is Ceylon cinnamon? Yeah, that's actually another name for true cinnamon. That's actually another name for true cinnamon. Ceylon cinnamon, yep. That's actually the name for true cinnamon. You see what I'm saying? And that's important because when you're mixing these crystals, that's what I'm telling you before, they're hormones. Remember, sugars make fats. Fats is where you make a lot of your hormones from. We gave you the chemical composition for these things, man. We showed you that the THC, tetrahydrocannabinol. We showed you estrogen, estradiol, the main form of estrogen, right? We showed you, testosterone, its chemical makeup. It was a complex carbohydrate, CHO. We showed you these things. These are complex sugars, and we showed you sugar when you want to see its physical form. It's a crystal. But don't get lost in this idea of sugar because they oversimplified it. Because it's sugar to you, but to the Blanco, he's in his labs calling it a monosaccharide, disaccharide, polysaccharide, oligosaccharide. This is what he calling this shit. And then when he want to simplify it just to let you know exactly what it is, and he knew what it is, he called it a crystal. We showed you the images for these lactose crystals. We showed you the images for the viruses as crystals. We showed you how they gave you a document, an article of this woman who was responsible in this so-called patrilineal society. Pause. This is a sidebar. Understand this. Think about how if these Blanco women had it so hard because they trying to give you this idea that they got to, not to say that some haven't, but we're not speaking about some. We're not speaking about the unique situations and circumstances. We're talking about general. We have to speak in generality right here because it's key. Because we have to understand that they feign this idea like they were these victims, but they are the ones spearheading this movement because they are the ones who has the most access to this energy. That's why they seek to try to replace it. And the black woman be like, man, why do I feel like I got to compete with all these other women? Because all these other women understand that you have the greatest opportunity to take advantage of this energy in this realm. They know this. But you don't know it. So we stuck arguing with ourselves. And in this patrilineal society, as much as the Blanco act like he been holding this woman back, guess what she's able to do? You see Rosalind Franklin, she's discovering, accredited with the discovery of DNA, the DNA molecule through the science called X-ray crystallography. You had Margaret Sanger. She the one who pushed forth birth control, and they pushed laws through the Supreme Court. You know what I'm saying? And in order to, acquiesce to these women's movement, the temperance movement, when white women got together and outlawed alcohol, and then the federal government put the 18th Amendment into effect because these white women did this. Then white women came together again in 1922 to create the Cable Act, which said that if a Blanco woman married a European or an immigrant, then they would keep their United States citizenship, because before 1922, if a Blanco woman married a European man, her United States citizenship was revoked. Yes, this is why you got to study them. But they were really, what this was showcasing their power. Because behind the scenes, esoterically, you see that they drive this. Look at Madame Blavatsky, Helena Blavatsky. She was the co-founder of the Theosophical Society, right? But we know that they said that she was the principal thinker behind it. You don't even know the other co-founder. All you hear is Madame Blavatsky, right? And then the person who became president after Madame Blavatsky, after she died, 5 years after that, was another woman, another European woman. Okay? This is what you got to understand. This is deep shit. All these Blanco women spearheading the esoteric thought and energy behind the Blanco man, the so-called European man. And you think it's his doing. They understand this is a female energy, just like I showed you with Theodore Roosevelt. What did they have him, symbolically dressed at to represent? Feminine energy. Because they know that it rules that. They ain't did nothing but steal our shit, right? And we the ones caught up into all of the bull crap in the patrilineal society. And it's not to sit up here and down or to minimize what we bring to the table as men in our masculine energy. But we all know, real fucking talk, ain't nothing like the power of a woman, even when you see her. If we take a look and get rid of all of them bullshit ass arguments and that we going through on social media and all that different shit, the power of a woman is bar none one of the most infectious powers a man can run into if you're a heterosexual male. Bar none. And that's energy she got without even talking to your ass. So she holds an energy that we know is infectious. And that's why we always try to dominate the energy. That's why the domination of Mother Earth is what we see being played out. And all of a sudden, we're starting to wake up and realize unless we save this feminine energy, unless we save Mother Earth, we ain't got a shot in hell. That's what's so critical about all of this. King Malik said also, bro, what do you think about tobacco as a herb? I know American indigenous use it. Yeah, we went over that. The tobacco was used because obviously it had the key nutrient niacin. You know, this is niacinamide or whatever, but niacin is also the biological. Basically the equivalent of vitamin B3 for the human body, which helps you to metabolize stuff. We talked about this. This is one of the reasons why they put menthol, which is another crystal. I showed you menthol in this crystal form. It looks like meth. Menthol is a crystal. They put that in who's more addicted to menthol cigarettes than any other group. It was African American, so-called African Americans. Okay, but the menthol in these crystals help to facilitate this key nutrient that our body needs, and it mimics B3. And we know that niacin does this biologically. Why? Because the Blanco puts it in all of his foods, right? Because remember, niacin is nothing but an oxidized form of nicotine. Niacin is nothing but an oxidized form of nicotine. So this nicotine, which he says is bad, that's in tobacco, right, which was only named after John Nicole. Mind you, he just named it after a European, right? But this chemical compound that's in tobacco, right, was key to biological functions, and in certain tribes with their people when they took it in. That's why certain tribes would only grow tobacco. See, we had this all down to a science. And then we turned our back on Mother Nature because we are under the impression there's something new. We are under the impression that these Blancos just took over agriculture or they just took over the food. No, when they met you, that was the first thing they had to take over. They took over the tobacco. They took over the sugar cane. They took over the cotton. They took over the sin. They took over everything because they understood the power of trees. On that note, let me kick a nigga. Man, let me show you the power of what I'm talking about right quick. Let me show you the power of what I'm talking about right quick, because you're just not getting it. And I'm just going to read the headline of this article just to show you. And I'm finna share my screen right quick. We finna wrap this up in a minute because we know how it gets when it get by 2 hours. U.S. government is keeping location of world's oldest tree a secret. There's a secret branch of government you never heard of, and this one has deep roots. One of the world's oldest trees, a great British bristlecone pine, is about to turn an amazing 4,847 years old. Methuselah, named after the longest living character in the Bible, is located somewhere in California's Inyo National Forest, but beyond that, its exact location remains a protected government secret. Okay, so why did I say that? I said all that to say this. Remember we talked about, we just went through this, carbon. Carbon is Latin for coal. Coal is decomposed plant material. We know that our existence, our blood runs off of the energy given to us by plants, which is called glucose, because through carbon dioxide, water, and sunlight, they are able to make these crystals that we call sugars that we take in. It's key for our blood runs off of it. It's key for our brain runs off of it, right? So we understand that not only is our melanin, more than half of our molecular makeup of our melanin is made of this carbon or decomposed plant material. We also run off of plant energy. We're starting to see that some of the most healthiest foods to eat are those of plant material, plant DNA, or plant sugar, or plant crystals, if you will. Okay, so the point is that when you understand that this tree of life thing, there's some literal significance to all of this. You see what I'm saying? These trees' locations are not even being disclosed by the government. Because supposedly, according to the narrative, they said that one guy came and inadvertently chopped down the Prometheus tree. All right. They chopped down the Prometheus tree, and then so they wanted to guard this tree, which is called Methuselah. Notice they named him after mythical and biblical characters. Prometheus' son was the one who the flood story was about. We've already detailed that in another segment. All right. So you see Methuselah, the oldest living tree. And we got to understand, even when we look at cinnamon is tree bark. You know, we look at all of the foods that keep us healthy, that talk about these regenerative properties, that's mystical, all come from these trees, which in turn takes this sexual energy from our central power source. Because every time spring rolls around, or the spring equinox rolls around, then all of a sudden the life comes back into everything. And when we say life, we have to mean sexual energy, because that's exactly what it is. We told you what the scientific definition of flowers was. We told you what the scientific definition of fruits were. So without any doubt, without any reservation, you have to know that it is your ability to integrate What Mother Earth's natural sexual energy or level of frequency that she has going on will determine how well you come to getting to the next level. Because if you don't understand that vibing or mastering your own personal sexual energy, which in turn allows you to integrate with Mother Earth's sexual energy, that's the only route to the highest level of experience, period. But you must know first what the energy is. You first must know what the energy is. And it goes back to us, connecting with nature, understanding the role of trees, understanding the role of the sun, understanding the role of this energy, that it's a sexual energy that in their eyes must be maintained and controlled, right? So that they could eventually replace it. Okay, let me go to the oh yeah, no doubt, King Malik on that. Yeah, so yeah, we're going to get more off into this, but I don't want to go over 2 hours because we know how they are in terms of cutting down the lives and stuff. So I think I got a few minutes before I'm able to do this, but I want to put it all together. With one, we understand that they communicate through signs and symbols. For those who are kind of a little lost, because this is my nature, those from the FOF squad are totally familiar with my mode of operandi. Other people can get lost or a little confused. So we're going to wrap it up in like this 2-minute synopsis. And we're going to say that, look, one, you have to understand that the elite operate and communicate through signs and symbols. You must be symbol literate in order to make it. It is what will encourage you to have conviction, and that conviction in turn will encourage you to have a high sense of urgency. 2, how do you accomplish that? You accomplish that by seeing the world in a different light, changing up your worldview. Now that you see this energy as crystals, these crystals carry a sexual energy. This energy in turn is what they call hormones, that communicates with the body so that the body is able to do things. And that you now begin to realize that this energy is not only going to allow you to transform from a boy to a man or from a girl to a woman, but also to transform to your highest self using what they typically refer to as that Kundalini energy. If you characterize the pineal gland as the highest gland, the seat of the soul, etc., the gland that will give you the ability to see, your third eye, etc., then you must know that the pineal gland's main function or main hormone that it releases, which is melatonin, acts on the gonads. It acts on this sexual energy. People undergo extremes in terms of being able to use a sexual energy, or not being able to use it right or use it correctly. Sometimes they have sexsomnia, where they have can't control these things and wake up without any memory at all, from masturbating or trying to become aggressive towards someone in a sexual way, right? Then we have, all of the chemicals that you release when you understand the energy. You release these endorphins, you release serotonin, you release oxytocin, you release dopamine, you release these endocannabinoids, etc. All these things have a profound effect on the body to help you reach the next level. We know that under an orgasm, the entire body communicates with itself. Okay, it gets the same message. So it's important to piggyback thoughts and ideas and concepts of what you desire for the body during an orgasm, especially if it's being had in a healthy way. If you have a spouse or a significant other that you can conduct these exercises with, then all the better. If it's just yourself, all the better. If you don't want to do it at all, your choice, your decision. This is your freedom you have. But understand this. This is the nature of your existence. So when you hear all of these things like, solar geoengineering, social engineering, all this is just other names for how do we control this sexual energy. Population control, how do we control this sexual energy? Solar engineering, to where the sunlight don't shine on the plant so that they can make the sexual foods. How do we control this sexual energy? This is what this is all about. You've been wondering why they want you obsessed at all of these things that are right in front of your face. Like, what does this have to do with my life? Somebody's bedroom. They like, no, look, read between the lines. This is all about this sexual energy. And we have to be able to master it. That's what we have to understand. So with that being said, like I said, brothers and sisters, it's about us getting deep off into these things, and realizing that, one, understand we're dealing with crystals and the power of these crystals. In order to change and to get that upper mobility spiritually, we have to realize that what crystals we put in our body will determine how we're going to be able to use the light the Most High has given us. So when it comes to that solar gazing, sun gazing, all that different stuff, if we have the right crystals in our body, the light going to bounce off and it's going to interact with other crystals. And before you know it, that metamorphosis is going to take place almost instantly. It's your body's waiting on it. So with that being said, who is God? God is the judge. And why is she the judge? Because she decides who wins and loses, not my opponent. Who is my opponent? He does not exist. And why does he not exist? Because he is merely a dissenting voice to the truth I speak. FOF squad.